As in, hey, come on up.
Middays with Mannix and Mannix begins now. Here's Jeff and Taylor.
You are going to fail and bomb and gag and fail and bomb.
Yalla, let's go.
Good afternoon. It's the final hour of Middays with Mannix and Mannix here on a Mannix Monday. Dom Campbell, the Scarborough native and standout basketball player at Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire, will join us at 1:30. But until then, we're going to talk some football. We're joined by former college football coach Malik Hall. Malik, how the heck are you? What a weekend we just had of football.
Hello, hot coffee indeed. Oh, my goodness. I mean, we're getting everything you want. You're getting the drama. You're getting the people who should win, like the underdogs pulling it off, and, you know, the big dogs holding the line. So you had everything this weekend.
Yeah, crazy happenings here this weekend. I guess the first place I'll take you, just because it was the most surprising result for me of the entire weekend. So Aaron Rodgers got discount double-checked.
Yes, he did. Hey, listen, guys, I mean, whatever it's worth. How many times I've been on the air with you guys for a while, and I'm thankful to all my cheeseheads out there. Look, I've seen this formula, and I've seen it as like a bad dream. Aaron Rodgers grows the hair out, gives us the nice beard. He's on fire. He's the gunslinger. And we get to Lambeau Field, and he gets upset. The one time that does not happen is when he has two running backs that he can give the ball to who can generate momentum down the field and them not just rely on his arm. And unfortunately, he did not have that. And San Francisco brought everything to the party. They brought their defense. They brought the offense, which is, we talked about it last week. Their offense is a wing T offense. Jimmy G is going to throw it deep based on play action, but everything is smoke screen, motion, sweeps, and you don't know who's going to get the ball. They have a great receiving. They got the tight end Kittle in the middle. He comes up big. They got Debo, and then you got Bose on the outside on the defensive end. So the impact that the whole team made when you add into how they had to beat Green Bay. They blocked the field goal, which stopped Green Bay from going up. They blocked a punt to get on the board. I mean, these guys played on fire. It is what it is. I tell you what, Green Bay ran the ball, 49ers ran the ball 29 times. Green Bay passed the ball 29 times. Like that, that's just an indicator of, I think, the lack of success that Green Bay has had over the years. I know everybody remembers the Super Bowl. They had two running backs that they kept feeding the ball.
Yep.
They don't have anyone to give the ball to outside of the dynamic receiver, and Rodgers throwing it. So I wish I could say that was a disappointment for me, but that one I saw happening.
Yeah, it's funny. I was way high on Green Bay. I just thought, third time's the charm for me. And it's funny. I suffered the same fate I think, as you did with your Packers the week before, with Dallas the week before, where obviously it felt like the superior team and the team with the better weapons still found a way to lose the game, despite having chances in it. And you make a good point with the two back system, because A.J. Dillon, BC kid, by the way, incredible in college at BC.
Shout out to Dillon, yeah.
Yeah, he's unreal. He was hurt after that first drive. I mean, how much do you think that played into the Packers kind of throwing them out of their game a little bit? Because especially when the conditions got harsh, having that power back can be so key, and they didn't have that the entire game.
I think with Aaron Rodgers being a gunslinger and he having that type of talent, and now this is a completely different coaching staff and everything. I don't know that they relied on him to make the plays every time. You know what I mean? So you can distribute the ball differently. Yeah, Dillon, who a BC product, New England product, had their only touchdown. You know what I mean? So, maybe he doesn't go down. They feed him a little bit more. But the Green Bay Magic in my mind, is playing in the cold, and now you have to tackle big running backs. And unfortunately, you have not seen that Green Bay team in quite a while. And until they get back to that, whether it's Lance or Mr. Rogers, they have to find some way to generate that Green Bay run-style game, because they lose all their advantage when it's cold, and now you got to throw the ball all over the lot.
How good is Deebo Samuel, especially with how versatile he seems to be in the San Francisco offense?
Oh my goodness! I again, that's if he was not a receiver or as dynamic of a receiver, I would not game plan him as a running back. I would just say, hey, this is what they're doing. But I've watched probably in the lab, end zone, sideline end zone copies of their games. They are as wing T as it gets with him, and they doubled down on it by when they needed to just run the ball by not giving you any of the smoke screen or the bells and whistles. They just lined them up back there. And so that right there, it says everything about his durability in between the tackles, and obviously his ability to stretch the field vertically. He's not afraid to run underneath. It was a time where little receivers wouldn't go underneath. Well, that time is no longer, and I think the 49ers is taking full advantage of what he can do and the skill set that's around him.
Yeah, well, and switching things over to the Tennessee-Cincinnati game that was also on that day, and talking about a special teams that had just the opposite of what Green Bay did in Cincinnati. I mean, what was it? I believe it was 4 for 4 on field goals, 1 extra point, 54 was long, 100%, and he had a total 13 of their 19 points. Obviously, Joe Mixon getting the other touchdown for Cincinnati. Have you ever seen a kicker like an Evan McPherson, who they call Money Mac now? I mean, the notion that he said, and the story is the lore now in Cincinnati, and I don't know if you saw this yet, Malik, where he said, we're going to the AFC Championship game after a few warm-ups. Have you ever, when has a kicker had this much swag? And by the way, we all laughed at Cincinnati when they drafted this kid early on.
Yeah. The kickers, again, these kickers are not my dad's kickers, okay? And they're certainly not my high school head coach kickers. Like, these guys are football guys, you know? And so to have a kicker come out and make statements because, listen, you remember every kick he'll miss. And right now, to be Money Magic right now, how he is, like, look, everyone knows the jinx is. Look, I believe in the football guys in the jinx, okay? So he now, look, they got a championship game. They handled the Titans. At the end of the day, Jamar Chase is a dude. He had 5 catches for 109, and that's them not trying to feed him. I thought the Bengals, distributed the ball very well. I think they still have to find a way, again, to run the ball. But 28-37, I think you'll take that not only will we take he only threw 1 pick, whereas Tannehill threw 3, you know? And that defense, hats off to that defense. When you talk about you got to stop the run and you know they're going to run the ball, they gave Derrick Henry the ball 20 times, okay? 20 times that normally would equate to 100-plus yards. In that kind of game, I'm sure every defensive player went to the stat sheet to make sure he didn't break 100. Because if you keep him under 100, you can win, and they did that, and you made Tannehill throw 3 picks. So I think the Bengals got their hands cut out for them. They built for shootouts. They like shootouts, and they're going against a variety of a cannon.
Then one more thing, too, because I like how you mentioned the Derrick Henry thing with 20 carries. One thing that actually stood out to me, and I want to ask your opinion as a coach, because I thought this is something that Tennessee missed in this game. Dante Foreman, to me, was at times maybe arguably, I don't want to say the more explosive back, but obviously had the big, 45-yard that got him into position before Daniel threw the pick. 4 carries, 66 yards. To me, I felt like maybe he should have been getting a few more carries. If you're a coach in that situation, I know you got Derrick Henry, but is there ever a time maybe you go away from a Derrick Henry for a Foreman if you're seeing he's got this explosiveness in a game? Do you think maybe Vrabel might have missed an opportunity to use a weapon that maybe the Bengals hadn't totally game planned for yet?
I would say Coach Vrabel strikes me. I've met him a few times, but he strikes me as a guy, as he's go down the story he pulled out. You know what I mean? So in some regard, yeah, I definitely think they should have they could have sprinkled Foreman in a little bit better. But you went through all of this rehab, all of this to get King Henry back, and it was no indicators to say we go switch gears because Henry wasn't hurt. But yeah, it would have been nice to see them continue to use Foreman's momentum that they used to get in clinch and do everything they needed to do while Henry was down. And in the locker room, I'm sure Foreman feels away. As a coach, I'm probably having that conversation with Foreman today. Like, hey, bro, we should have gave you the ball a little bit more. We rode Henry till the cows came home, and they didn't come home, unfortunately. And so I'm sure that's a conversation that the position coach is having with Foreman because he's a player. But they rode the prize horse, and it just didn't work out.
All right, let's talk about the crazy finish yesterday in Kansas City here. I mean, 25 points in the final 2 minutes of the game. I don't think we've ever really seen anything like that before. It was a crazy finish, and one where it looked like Buffalo had them finished off a couple different times, and yet Patrick Mahomes finds a way. Just tell us your thoughts about that game and how Kansas City managed to find a way to pull it out.
Hey, listen, we're watching a game. My wife is just in disbelief. Now, I'm just as in disbelief, but the fact that she is really trying to figure out how that happened, and I'm in my mind saying, well, they could have squibbed it. All of the things they could have done, they did not do. It's something going on at the end of the games that I can't quite put my finger on. I get not wanting to give up a deep one, but at the same time, to have people just free release and catch open passes and get a quick 10 scamper, the way these field goal kickers are kicking, look, a 50-yarder, it's not a no-brainer, but no one's not saying they don't have the leg. And so for me, Josh Allen, man, this kid has grown up in front of us. I was waiting for a silly turnover, and I never saw it. He scrambles, he razzles, he dazzles, and he just keeps making plays. Right now, he was the run game and the pass game. I would have liked to see him get some of his other guys more involved, but I tell you what, this Davis kid, did anyone know who he was prior to that? He had 4 touchdowns, 200 yards. So that speaks to Allen making people better, okay? The guys that you needed to really do some good numbers, they didn't, and they still were in a ball game. But you got Holmes, who has a plethora of weapons, right? Kelsey, Hill, McKinnon, Hartman, Hilliard, and it keeps going. And then he's a threat with his arm and his legs. And so I think the Bills did everything they could do, minus some what-ifs, but them what-ifs still could have come out the same way, just like we saw with Tom Brady. Normally, we say Tom Brady scores, you give him time, it's over. To transition, who would have thought Matty Stafford would have iced Tom Brady?
Well, I was going to say, a good segue there, and I do want to mention, too, about Patrick Mahomes, to your point. He actually led in both passing and rushing last night for the Chiefs, just by 9 yards. Edwards-Helaire had 60, but still, to your point there on just doing it all, and really when the ball's in his hands at the end, it's starting to feel more and more like the outcome, almost like you did with a young Tom Brady, too. Not to throw the comparison out there. Patriots fans are pissed at me for that, I'm sure now. But anyway, I'm with you. Back onto the point here. Stafford, and I know you're a Detroit guy, so this, you've been seeing this kid for a long, long time. what does it feel like for, talking from a Detroit fan perspective, to see Matthew Stafford in L.A. kind of just finally get this monkey off his back that he's not a big-time quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback. 366, 2 touchdowns, and the big one there to Cooper Kupp at the end to set things up. It doesn't get any bigger than that.
It doesn't. And who he did it against? Let's be honest now, guys. That mattered.
Yeah.
Right? And I will say this, at the end, where he could have just been like elated, oh, we got it downfield, he rallied, because you could see some of the Rams guys were just like excited and kind of in a little shell shock moment. He had to rally guys to the ball. I know you guys spoke to this earlier on the year, just to get the field goal unit out. So I'm happy for him. It is to beat Tom Brady, to beat the Bucs like he did, to beat Sue. Him and Sue are teammates now.
Right.
Okay? And Sue made it a point to say what he had to say to him if you caught it in slow motion. He didn't blink. This kid didn't blink. He actually showed you why the Lions loved him out of Georgia. Now, it's all for naught if he cannot beat the Niners. Okay? And that is, and for whatever it's worth, I do not think that the Niners game is a no-brainer, because the Niners are going to limit that defensive line for getting after Jimmy G. That's not going to happen, okay? Like, them two creatures up front and the guys on the outside, they're going to have to chase those speed sweeps and motions all over the place. And that will give the 49ers a shot, but this is where Matt will have to prove his worth and get to a Super Bowl. Now, whether he wins it, I think I'll be happy that he made it, and he will be one of a long list of quarterbacks who left the Lions and had success. So,
absolutely. You've already kind of talked about San Francisco and the Rams. Let's get your thoughts on what we'll see Championship Sunday next weekend here, and the two matchups, with Rams Niners and Bengals Chiefs.
The one of the deals that jumped out to me at the end of that game, when the Rams had a real opportunity to put the Bucs away, they fumbled. And I don't know if Michelle I don't know, that was Akers, but I like Sony Michel. Like, I think he's the real secret weapon. He's been carrying the load for him for a while. If he's healthy and they can run the ball, I think at this point in the game, you want to be in a 50-50 ball club with San Francisco, because they're going to try to limit how many possessions you have offensively, just the nature of their scheme. And their defense, you just not going to drop back and pass on them. So now you also got to add into, they manhandle Green Bay. And arguably the MVP. So that didn't go unnoted for the Rams offensive staff and Coach McVay. And it certainly didn't go missing that for Coach Raheem over there, the defensive coordinator, that they put up numbers against the GOAT. Like, they beat the GOAT. And so I think the Rams are on high alert, that this is not just the Rams and the 49ers are both on high alert. This is just not a walk in the park.
No, I don't think it is either. And looking at that matchup real quick, too, do you think that these past matchups that we keep hearing about, because the 49ers obviously have their number this year, do you think we can look to those games coming into this one? Or, I said to my brother a little bit, I think this is going to be a little bit different than those two. What's your feeling on it? Should we look at those two games as maybe a cookie-cutter blueprint to what to expect this weekend, or is this going to be a different Rams team?
In the locker room, everyone knows those three games existed. This is not – so, and the coaches are breaking those games down and making sure whatever happened in those games, we don't duplicate. And so, they've had their card, and so they got to prove it. And in my mind, those games play a part into everyone's psyche, because this is chess, not checkers. And so if you think just because, we had their card, like, they're coaching, the other team gets paid to play, to coach, and to practice for them to duplicate the same result. And so it's going to be interesting, but I really look. I'm gonna put it out there. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop for Stanford, and because of it, I'm going with the Niners.
Okay.
More of a 21-13 game. Niners.
Okay. Well, do you think Joe Burrow has any shot in Kansas City against the Chiefs?
Oh man! Oh my goodness!
Right.
After watching what we just, it almost feels like Joe Shotgun Burrow game never happened. Like he had a heck of a game,
Oh, yeah.
right? And now we just watched Mahomes and Allen. I'm not sure if you had to play Allen. I was going to think it was a no-brainer.
Right.
Hey, I know it.
So look, I've been betting against the Bengals from day one, right? And why stop now? So, I do not think they can get it done, but they've proven all of the naysayers and pundits wrong thus far. So, but yeah, I think the Chiefs should find themselves in a good position, but it will be a shootout. I could see it being a 28-31 kind of game.
All right. Great conversation, as always. Coach Malik Hall, former college football coach, Penn, UMass, Bates, amongst other schools. Thanks so much for joining us once again. Looking forward to breaking down the championship games with you next Monday.
Hey, keep the socks on. This is going to get hot.
Oh, yes, it most certainly will. Again, Malik Hall joining us to talk football. Dom Campbell is going to join us when we come back. Stay right there. It's Middays with Mannix and Mannix.